Hello guys, si Kersan Veloso ulit ito at welcome sa episode 8 ng larutan ng Shadowrun Dragonfall Director's Cut main campaign. So, tuloy natin yung ano natin. Yung episode natin guys, naghahanap tayo ng DVD player dahil nga nakakahanap tayo ng ano eh. Yung huling mission natin, nakakuha tayo ng ano, mga DVD discs eh. Kailangan natin ng player para malaman natin kung anong laman ng mga files. Your team makes its way back to the nearest U-Bahn station. 20 minutes later, you're on a return trip to the cruise bazaar, leaving the filth of Drogen Keep far behind. But the image of Green Winter's twisted corpse, sayang, yung huling mission natin yan. So anyway, yan. Tuloy natin. Tuloy natin mag-load. Okay. Nahanap natin yung DVD, yung dito sa junkyard. Nahanap natin yun. Ito. May DVD player siya eh. Pangalan? Shrouty. Ito ah. Shrouty. A stout old man looks up from whatever old tech he's tinkering with to squint at you through thick old-fashioned glasses. He pushes them with an oil-stained finger as he straightens up to nod at you. Speaks with a gruff but well-meaning tone, heavily accentuated with German tonality. Guten Tag, what can I do for you? Parang hawig niya yung hawig niya yung taong grasa doon sa sa Shadowrun Returns, yung kinausap ng main character natin nung hinahanap natin yung kung saan namatay si James Watts. Malik tells me you're the man to speak to about the DVDs. Don't worry about me, Grandpa. I'm doing just fine. That little shrew sent you my way, huh? Shrouty's smile broadens. Will wonders never cease? Well, introductions are in order, I suppose. Shrouty Pac-Man at your service. The old man raises a gritty hand in salute. Need something salvaged? Some odd components? Pillaged? I'm indeed your man. Wonderful. How about that DVD player? Talagang DVD player, hindi na lang DVD-ROM drive no? Well, let's see. I think that I've got something that'll help ya. That'll work for ya. Shrouty rummages through the junk heap on the table behind him. A few seconds later, he snatches a battered plastic lozenge shaped from the pile. Lozenge shape. So yung Discman? Here we go. An old Korean player. Talaga Korean made pa no? That I dug up last week. 2010 model. A real beauty. Shrouty's smile broadens and he gives you a conspiratorial wink. I fixed her up and got her running, but without any discs to read. I've mostly been using her as a paperweight. Sounds like what I'm looking for. How much do you want for it? Shorty glances back at the DVD player. A rueful expression on his face. Well, I'll admit it. I'm a little loath to part with her. There are plenty of folks out there who'd really appreciate an older player such as this, and I don't know what your intentions are for it. I suppose given the time and trouble I took putting her back together, what I'd be willing to part with her for, oh say, Shorty's eyes dart over your gear. a calculated expression on his face. But 500 new yan, mahal naman. Hindi na nga, ay kusabagay kasi ano siya eh. Considered ng ano siya eh. Collector's item, antique na eh. 500 new yan, hand over your credit stick. Magkano ang funds natin? Oh, at 1,000 matitila. 1,000 lang matitila. Hand over your credit stick. Deal. Strength. I've got a better idea. How about you give me the DVD player and we call it even? That's ridiculous. I could buy a new tri-vid player for that. I'm short on cash right now. Could I offer you something in trade? Sige, try natin. The old man pauses for a moment, considering. I'll tell you what. A few months ago, I had call it a difference of opinion with that gassy fellow from the soy calf shop. He hasn't let me in his establishment since, and I'd sell my mother for a decent cup of coffee. Coffee lang gusto mo? Sige. You get me a cup of Turkish coffee, the real stuff, not that fake junk, and I'll give you the DVD player. Sounds like a deal? Hand over your credit. I don't have that time. I don't have the time to run any more errands. I'll pay the 500. I'll come back with the 500. Okay, deal. Turkish coffee. Hand up. Kailangan ko muna kumuha. So, balik tayo sa ano. Saan ba yun? Hindi ko matandaan kung saan yung Yuban yan eh. Dito ba? Saan ba banda yun? Ito sa baba. Ay hindi. Talismanger. Saan ba banda yun? Ito. Cafe Sev. Oh, ano? Cafe Kev ba o Sev? Pabili nga ng ano, kape. Altag Wargasi. The Turk leans into you, keeps his voice low. I have information regarding that matter my people were looking into. Elendim. The one involving the surveillance device on my data tab. Altag, I have been waiting for my coffee for nearly an hour already. Are you growing the beans out back? John Goldsmith. Yung ano, yung ito, yung isang kausap, ito. Yung ano, yung suki niya. The coffee vendor shouts, "Can't you see that I am speaking to an honored guest? You lower of quivering, you tower of quivering corpulence." His voice lowers again. Now then, as I was saying, we were fortunate that you happened upon the surveillance tap when you did. The people on the other end were planning a very bad thing, to be sure. Very bad thing? Quite bad, yes. Monica Schaefer was an important member of this community, more than most were aware of. This case was under her protection. You know how it is in the flux. Effendem. The governance of a place like this is tenuous at best. You never know who is going to be in charge from one day to the next. But Monica was a stabilizing force, and not just because she was dangerous. She was smart and funny and wise, and she had a way with people. They wanted to support her, to follow her, because they loved her. When she was killed it left an opening for others. It would have meant bloodshed and pain if this council had been allowed to continue their plan, but they did not. We saw to it, you and I. Are they dead? What happened to them? Indeed we did, Altag. What happened to them? Ito na lang. They have been reasoned with. Let us simply say the matter is settled and leave it at that. Reasoned with? Ano, pinatay? Di yung option talaga na pinatay. Leave it at that. The cruise bazaar will maintain its stability a while longer thanks to us. Karma. Isa lang? Ano ba yan? Now, what can I do for you, F&M? Would you like some coffee perhaps? Soy calf black. Coffee as in real coffee, not soy calf. Just killing time. I'll be going now. Yes, for individuals of refined taste, I offer genuine bean coffee from my native Turkey. The cafe owner looks you in the eye. The tone of his voice grows low and serious. This is a top shelf item, my friend, and not for the general public. Only for those few discerning connoisseurs who can properly appreciate it. 5. I just need my caffeine fix. Let me have a soy calf. Change my mind. Thanks anyway. I think I'm the sort who can appreciate it. Tell me about the Turkish coffee. It is handpicked by my family in Turkey, a true delicacy of the sixth world. This was considered a luxury even before the awakening, when even coffee was everywhere, every street corner, they say. Bergasi leans in close, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. Long hours in the shop have perfumed his body with the commingled scent of coffee, incense, and applewood tobacco. Trust me, if your coffee experience has been limited to soy calf, you must not deny yourself this opportunity. You will see God. All right, you sold me. How much? On second thought, I think I'll just switch to soy calf. Kailangan natin yan para sa mission so. This is a specialty item, delivered at some cost. I cannot part with it for less than 15 nuyen a cup. 15 lang pala Sige. Mas mura kaysa 500 no isa. Pay the man deal. 15 nuyen for a cup of coffee? Too rich for my taste. Okay. 50 lang naman kumpara sa 500. So, ito na lang. Sige. Nice. Very good. Bergasi hands you a ceramic travel cup, which he then fills to the brim with dark, steaming liquid. The scent is intoxicating. Is there anything more that I can get you? Soy calf. Just killing time. I'll be going now. Okay. May isa tayong... May mabibili ba tayo ng 1? Wala Yung mga kailangan nating skills, more than 1 Strength ko kailangan yan. Wala talaga. Okay, balik tayo sa Balik tayo sa may-ari ng junk shop. No? 50 versus 500. Ang laki nga ng kamurahan. So nice. Shorty looks up at you from his work and nods. Hello again, Maynard. I'm a bit busy, but what can I do for you? I'm back from my DVD player. Wait, it ain't yours yet, but I've got it right here. Been keeping it warm for you. Now, you got my coffee, or do you have the 500 million? Coffee. Turkish coffee. Hand him the coffee. I got the coffee for you. Ah, thank you. Shorty's Shorty gratefully accepts the coffee, then snaps the lid back and inhales deeply, wiggling his mustache as he processes the scent. Yep, that's the real stuff, alright. Okay, DVD player. Shorty gingerly picks up the ancient device from the table and presses it into your hands. The plastic is scuffed and worn, and it rattles a bit when you move it. Give him some good use, okay? Okay. Return to Paul with the goods. So, balik tayo sa ano? Balik tayo sa safe house. Pwede na natin ano yung pwede natin tingnan kung ano laman ng CD, mga DVDs. Call Ansel. It seems that Ansel has assembled the team in your absence. They stand in a group around the old display that you had Malik deliver on their faces. Deliver. On their faces, you can see excitement and apprehension, curiosity and dread. Raquel Siddhartha, have you procured a DVD reader? Hand Ansel the DVD player. I have. It's right here. No, not yet. Good. This should only take me a moment. Ansel disappears behind the ancient display. After a few minutes of fiddling with it, with its battered inputs, he reappears, a satisfied look on his face. Everything appears to be functional. The disc should be ready to play. So yan. Makikita natin kung ano yung laman nun. Well, don't keep us in suspense. Start the damn thing already. Raquel Siddhartha went to the trouble of fetching everything. Let her do the honors. Ansel steps back, clearing a path for you to access the antique machine. Okay, so kailangan natin i-activate. But diba andito? Bakit napunta dun? Okay, watch DVDs. Bakit panonoorin? Hindi ba data file yun? A soft whirring sound fills the air as the ancient DVD player spins the disc up to speed. The scratched LCD display comes to life, and a menu fills the screen. Play track 1, play track... sige, track 1 muna. The screen goes black, and a cheerful digital chiming sound spills out of the display speakers. A crackle of static fills the air, coupled with a shrill electronic whine. After a few moments, the display goes live, and a disheveled-looking man appears on the screen. His eyes glitter with excitement. The timestamp on the screen is 2034 09:15. Bali September 15, 2034. Adrian Vauclair. Hermie, I think we've found her. After all this time. Fewer strange. I know that she wasn't dead. His speech is jittery. You can hear the urgency in his voice. She survived the Dragonfall, just as I've always said. I knew it, and I was right. The screen explodes into static, and the electronic whine in the background sharpens into a needle-like pulse of high-pitched sound. Somewhere in the background, Dante lets out a low whimper. Sabihin na, nandun sa recording si Dante. Paano yun? Aiden Vauclair. The screen clears, and the excited face is closer to the screen than it was before. The words spill out of him in a breathless tide. Taking a team into the SOX to retrieve her. The radiation be damned. We will take appropriate precautions, of course, but we must go. Hermie, I think that the body may be nearby as well. Somehow it, she has survived for all of this time. The screen explodes into static again, then clears. The figure flickering across the screen. The figure flickers across the screen. May not be back for some time. Look after mom, okay? I worry about her. And Hermie, stay safe out there. I know that things are heating up in Berlin, and I know you. Student protests, civil uprising. You'll be in the middle of it, I'm sure, but stay safe, alright? And I'll do my best to do the same. I don't know what's going to happen when I step into the SOX. But I do know one thing. If the fire wing is still a danger, I will put an end to her, once and for all. The display goes black and the background wine fades away. A moment later, you find yourself deposited back at the main menu screen. So, track 2. The screen goes black for a moment. Then a figure appears on the screen. Your late client, Green Winters. His elbow is planted on the table that he's seated on, and his chin rests on his palm. The other hand is wrapped around a bottle of cheap whiskey. The timestamp on the video reads 2053. Christmas. December 25 eh. Ayan si Green Winters. Found the message Adrian left me all those years ago. Got it cleaned up as best I could. Strange hearing his voice again. He pauses to take a long pull on the bottle. It's good to hear him, even if he did insist on calling me Hermie. Dr. Adrian Valkler, the hero of the people, the Dragon Slayer, my brother. He grimaces and rubs his eyes. Hard to believe it's been almost 20 years. Alright, so I'm gonna start recording these DVDs again. For me, for Adrian, for whoever might wind up watching them. Every time I do this, it winds up feelings like a waste of time. But I keep doing it anyway, on the off chance that I'll find something important. If I stumble into the clue that leads me to my brother, I know that I'm gonna want it on film. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, after all. No sense in quitting now. Christ, 20 years all this time and still no leads, even with all my contacts and my resources. He takes another long swallow of the cheap liquor. Even with my legendary bullheadedness, I made no progress at all. I haven't turned up a single goddamn thing. Wanna hear something funny? The closest I've gotten to a clue was a rumor. Apparently a team emerged from the SOX a while back. Nobody's clear on the date, but, and get this, he leans into the camera and gives a conspiratorial wink. Supposedly they've vanished without a trace. He appends the bottle, drank it, and drains it, slams it back down the table. His eyes are rimmed with red. Not much of a rumor, considering I already know that you're gone, big brother. I live with that every day. Abruptly, Winters leans forward and reaches for something off screen. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. So, track 3. There is a grinding sound from the DVD tray, and Green Winter's image appears on the screen. There is an eager look on his face. The timestamp on the video reads 2054, October 12. So 1 year after. So malapit na tayo sa timeline nitong game. Stumble upon this archival footage of Shadowrun's original attack months before the Dragonfall. Is to forget how devastating it was. Adrian saved a lot of people by bringing her down. I've got the footage all queued up to play. Starting it now. Additional comments to follow. The slow whir of DVD player shifts to a high-pitched whine. A distorted, wavering image blooms into being on the screen. A timestamp in the upper right corner of the screen marks the date, July 6, 2012. Okay ah. Ito yung image. It's difficult to make out what you're seeing at first. The scene is dark and smoky, and the telltale flashes of emergency vehicle lights flicker on the periphery of the screen. The camera pushes in, and you can make out two figures standing in a ruined landscape. All at once, the sound cuts in. Reporter. Again, for those of you just joining us, we are coming to you live from Stolberg. A few hours ago, the Dragonfall Range launched an unprovoked attack on this sleepy Harris mountain town, and you can see the results behind me: fire, ashes, and blood. We are joined tonight by a survivor of this latest and most horrifying attack. The reporter turns to face a pale man standing behind him pala. Kala ko babae. Sir, I understand that you've been through a terrible ordeal. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us tonight. Survivor. The camera switches focus to a middle-aged man with a haunted look in his eyes. He stammers out a reply. Yes, of course. If you could, sir, could you please tell the people at home about your experience of the attack? It was horrible, just pure chaos. So many people are dead, people I knew, roasted alive, or trampled to death trying to escape. My own house was burned to the ground during the attack. My family, we have nothing now. You all made it through the attack though. Your wife, your kids? Yeah, we all made it. Thank God. We rode out the attack in a small shelter. Me and my wife and our two daughters. The shelter, it protected us, but the heat was just unbearable. We couldn't have stayed in there much longer than we did. How long were you holed up in there? 3, maybe 4 hours. I don't know. We just stayed inside until the heat died down and the screaming stopped. And what happened after that? When it was over, when the air cooled down, the reporter nods, and the man continues. We stepped outside. There was nothing left, just smoldering wreckage, and this dense cloud of black, oily smoke, and the stench of the air. God, that smell. It smelled like roasting meat. There is a long pause. From the tortured look on his face, you can tell that the man is struggling to decide whether or not to continue speaking. Eventually he does. My girls, they found what was left of their nanny outside. Her body, what was left of it, was slumped against the shelter door. I keep telling myself that I couldn't hear her pounding to get in. But that isn't true. I could. I just couldn't bring myself to open that door. I couldn't reach my family like that. Not for her. Not for anyone. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to speak with us. Yeah. You heard it here. An absolutely chilling account of tonight's attack. Again, the town of Stolberg has been reduced to ash. Another victim of the firing. Stay with us for more up-to-date... Stay with us for more up-to-the-minute reporting on Fewishwin's Reign of Terror. Green Winter's face reappears on the screen. Okay, it's time for a new approach. Adrian's a complete dead end. That much is pretty clear by now. So I'm gonna do some digging on Fewishwin instead. Let's see where this goes. Papan ito. Teka. Check ko lang yung time. Bit timer natin. Teka. Check ko lang. Okay. 30 minutes pa. The screen abruptly goes black as the video cuts off. A few moments later, you find yourself returned to the menu screen. So, track 4. The DVD player ramps up to speed, filling the air with a shrill whining sound. Green Winter's image appears on the screen. The timestamp on the video reads 2054, October 31st. So Halloween. Well, that was a bust. Little progress on Fewishwin either. He shakes his head. I don't know, it's weird. The information is there. It's just wrong, somehow. It's too well laid out. Too simple. Real life is messy, and this feels just a little too neat. That's not the only thing that's nagging at me. I'm getting that tingly feeling all up and down the back of my neck again. It feels like I'm being tracked. I'm no Matrix hotshot like Clockwork or Schaefer, but I'm good enough to know when someone's on my scent. Gotta install some new security measures. Can't be too careful. Winter's image disappears. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. So, dalawa na lang. Track 5. The display goes black for a moment. Then the face of Green Winters winks onto the screen. He is seated at a computer off to his left. An enormous monitor fills the screen. Nawawala na ako ng hininga. His voice carries an edge of panic. The timestamp on the video reads 2054, November 9. Full frontal view. Christ, I'm getting too close to something. There's a trail of bodies, and there have been disappearances. Gearbox, Marcian, Peregrine, they've all disappeared within the past few years. Gearbox just went AWOL yesterday, and they were all making the same sorts of inquiries about the firing that I've been. There are ghost stories spreading around the Decker community. Stories about Deckers disappearing and then showing up again later, but wrong somehow. Scary stuff, and I'm starting to think that it's true. Blitz leans into whisper to you. I know the stories he's talking about. Chief never really put much stock in him. Dapat may in yan eh. Not until now. Could these rumors be related to what's happening here? Am I being paranoid? He pauses for a moment, as if seriously considering the question. Then he shakes his head and slams his fist on the table. No, I don't think so. Something big is happening here, and I'm right in the middle of it. Iger cuts in. That's a bit of a leap. One other thing. Tolstoy told me a story about a kill team that might be related to all of this. Apparently, a decker named Helbor posted a theory about Fjordwind to the Shadowland BBS about 5 years ago. About an hour later, a mil-spec team showed up in neat space and cooked her entire apartment with her in it. If what Tolstoy told me was true, Helbor live posted the event. She described her killer, this great big orc with skin grafts. Ay, teka. Orc with skin grafts. Huwag mo sabihin na connected tong game na to talaga sa Returns. Eh ano yun yun yung tao nung yun yung tauhan ng Mad Killer nung Mad Killer eh. Yung Emerald City Reaper. Then the whole thread disappeared. Gone without a trace. Leap Igerlove. Sounds like he's on the right track to me. Iger holds her silence, but concedes the point with a small nod. On the screen, Winters pauses. He looks like he's working up to something. Finally, he speaks. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. This has got to be Fjordwind. All of it. Adrian was right about her. She's still alive and she's out of the SOX. She's covering her tracks, working the shadows, preparing to rise again. And that means that I have to find you, Adrian, for everyone's sake. Thankfully, I've got a lead. For the first time in 2 decades, I've got a solid goddamn lead. I backtracked all of the Matrix notes that Helbor was looking into, back before she got cooked. Whoever's been purging the Matrix didn't think about that, and I found that she's turned up. Winters stabs a few keys on his keyboard, and an image expands to fill the screen of his monitor. A satellite photo of a rural landscape, annotated with GPS data, a set of map coordinates. So now, I've got the target, a place to start digging. The Harfield Manor. Ay, dun din. Yung start ng game. Dun din yung ano ba yun? Conveniently located on an isolated stretch of countryside, miles away from prying eyes. Matrix records indicate that some sort of data vault exists beneath the estate, so that's what I need to get into. And this is where we came in. As if on cue, a familiar image winks into the monitor. To Winter's left, Monica. I think I'm gonna tap Schaefer for this job. She's got the skills to bypass whatever security they're running out there. And she's gullible enough to take the job in the first place. Ano ba yan? Sinetap mo yung ano ba yan? I'll feed her some line about flux state security and she'll eat it up with a spoon. Ano ba yan? Sinetap? I warned her. Ansa's voice is choked with rage. I warned her. On the display, Winter's mouth parts into a broad grin. Time to put plans into motion. By this time tomorrow night, I should have the information that I need. And on the off chance that Schaefer gets taken out, Well, that'll tell me something too. Can't make an omelet and all that. Can't make an omelet and all that. Until then, pasaway ka. Sinetap mo pala si Monica, ano ba yan? Winter's image disappears. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. So, final track. When you play the sixth track, a small video window appears. You recognize the scene in the window. You are looking at the tattered drapes and nicotine-stained wallpapers of Winter's hotel room at Das Castle House. The timestamp on the video reads 2054, November 10. So the day before yung accident, yung mission natin. There is a blur of motion and the haggard form of Green Winter's turn lumbers into frame. Suspicions confirmed. Schaefer dead. Winters reaches a shaking hand off camera. A moment later, it returns clutching a cheap plastic drinking glass. He gulps something down, wipes his mouth with the back of his hand, and takes a deep breath. Okay. Back up, slow down. Start from the beginning. Winters closes his eyes and makes a visible effort to calm himself when he speaks again. His voice is steady. Got the call from my contact in the Chris Bazaar. Schaefer killed on the estate run. Matrix security at the estate cooked her brain. Considering Schaefer's skill and experience on site IC on-site IC must have been extreme, even by Berlin standards. Security of that kind costs money, real money. Given the evidence uncovered so far, corporate involvement unlikely. The connection to the firing is too strong. So let's come right out and say it. The dragon is what we're dealing with here, and the smart money says that she's coming for me next. So ano si Firewing? Para siyang AI? I think yata kasi sa mga napanood ko napanood ko ibang nag-let's play nito a few years ago. Parang may AI nga eh. Parang continuation din ng kwento ni Jake Armitage. I won't go down without a fight. I've still got my contacts, still got my connections, and the flux state can be a hell of a weapon for the man who knows how to manipulate it. Pero hindi rin namatay ka rin eh. Winters takes another long pull from his glass, grimaces and swallows. Time for me to make my play. Ghost stories or no, missing deckers or no, I've got to jack into the matrix and start pulling strings. The countermeasures that I installed earlier should be more than enough to keep me safe for the 20 minutes I'll be in there. Winters drains the rest of the glass, then tosses it back over his shoulder. A moment later, you hear the dull, clattering sound of hard plastic on linoleum. Schaefer's death was tragic. She was a staunch supporter of the F state, but still, all things considered, Winters wishes for something off screen. A moment later, his hand reappears clutching a data jack cable. Better her than me. He plugs the cable into his head and the screen cuts to static. Okay, eject the DVD, tapos na. As your finger nears the eject button, a black screen cuts in over the static. A moment later, Greenwinter's haggard face appears. If you're watching this, then I guess that they caught up to me. They will be after you two next. After two now. Blitz whispers into your ear again. More harshly this time. What the hell is this? Why didn't you warn me about this before I came here? Sumama ka na lang basta-basta eh. Yung hinire natin to si Blitz. Whispers back. Not now, Blitz. Announced loudly. Hey everybody, Blitz is scared. Whisper back. We didn't know, not exactly. Ito na lang. Announced loudly. Hey everybody, Blitz is scared. Okay. Ito na lang. We didn't know, not exactly. Not exactly. I didn't come here to get haunted by a dragon. I'm not even a part of this. You are now, whether you like it or not. So quiet down and stop bothering her. Whoever you are, whatever you think you're after, you need to find Dr. Adrian Vauclair. Not because he's my brother. Because if Fewer Switch is rising again, he's the only one who can stop her. You've seen what happened to people who got too close to this. I'm dead and dozens of others have died. You'll be next unless you can find Adria. The screen cuts back to static. The message is over. The DVD tray slides out of the reader. So, masyado maraming para i-process yun. Teka. 16 minutes na lang. So, teka. Ano susunod na kailangan natin gawin? Discuss your findings with answer. So, kailangan natin siyang usapin ulit. Teka. Tapusin na lang natin itong batch na to. Siguro naman, abot na yun sa time. The room goes quiet as everyone struggles to process what you've just seen on the DVD. Finally, Dietrich breaks the silence. A dragon, son of a bitch. Greenwinter sent us up against a dragon. Ang tanong, anong itsura ng dragon dito? Pareho ba ni Drake na talagang physical dragon? The Firewing. Ansa's voice is thick with dread. She lives. I'm really starting to regret the fact that I didn't just stay at the hotel. Iger ignores him. Wait a second. We don't know for certain. Dietrich lays a hand on Iger's shoulder. The evidence seemed pretty convincing to me, love. I'll even take in a step further. I think that secret facility that we stumbled into was her lair. Ibig sabihin, nandun siya sa loob ng computer, gano'n? The room feels silent. Iger and Glory exchange glances. After a moment, Dietrich continues. Just think about it. The Decker that Winters got those coordinates from was posting about Feuerschwinch. Then she was killed by that same orcish bastard that attacked us after Monica died. Kala ko yung sa Shadowrun Returns yung pala, tama, yung may na-encounter nga pala tayo dun sa nung nandun tayo sa may vault room na naka-Gatling gun. Just think about it. The Decker that Winters got those coordinates from was posting about Feuerschwinch. Then she was killed by that same orcish bastard that attacked us after Monica died. That's a direct link between the dragon, the scarred orc, and the Harfeld Manor. And then Winters was killed by the same thing that killed Monica. Exactly. My gut tells me that the dragon is down there. Raquel Siddhartha, someplace far beneath the surface. I think that we knock on the door to her lair without even knowing it. And I think that given that we've seen the dragon that we've seen, the dragon will do whatever it takes to keep us quiet about it. Okay, going on the assumption that there is a dragon and that she will come after us. What do you propose that we do about it? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to follow Winter's advice. We're gonna find Vauclair. I say keep things simple. We head back there, kick in the door and kill the dragon. Problem solved. Anyone have any suggestions? So, ayun. Hanapin natin si Vauclair. Yun ang mas logical eh. Yes, Raquel Siddhartha is right. Finding Dr. Vauclair should be our priority. If we're going up against a dragon, we need to find ourselves a dragon slayer. Pwede rin si Jake Armitage. Pumatay din siya ng dragon eh. Winter spent 20 years searching for Vauclair, and it got him nowhere. How do you propose that we find him? With the help of an information broker. I'll go talk to Altog then. Let me guess, back to the coffee shop? Do you have any suggestions? So sige, ito na. Yun ang parang mas logical eh. For this no, while Herb Burgasi is very capable, a task of this magnitude is beyond him. We need to make contact with the premier information broker in Berlin. We need to talk to Alice. Ano sa pangalan Alice Let's scoff some Ansel. Alice, best of luck, and I hope that you're rich. Ansel raises an eyebrow. For this, rich enough. Even if only just. Who is this Alice? A most prominent figure in Berlin's shadow community. Ex-shock Wellenreiter. He provides information retrieval services for the F state. Ansel turns to the computer console behind him and runs his fingers over a virtual keyboard. The machine begins to hum. If Winters was right, if Vauclair is still alive, she can help us find him. So ito na yung next quest natin. The console spits out a stick of black plastic. Ansel plucks it from the computer and hands it to you. Ano? Floppy disk. Here, your key to speak with Alice. A cred stick? Hindi cred stick yan. Ansel nods. Talaga cred stick nga. An encoded cred stick, yes. 10,000 yuan. Alice will not show her face for less. This represents the last of my personal savings, Raquel Siddhartha. Make this meeting count. Where do I need to go? 10,000 yuan just to talk to her. 10,000 yuan just to talk to her? Sounds like a fair trade to me. I'll take care of it. Okay, so... Sige, information tayo. 10,000 yuan just to talk to her? Ansel nods. Her standard fee. Alice is in a position to ask it, and we're in no position to argue. So para siyang si Akemi sa kwento ni Jake Armitage. Para siya si Akemi. Just like I said, why doesn't anyone listen to me? Where do I need to go? Take the U-Bahn to the Alstadt Spandau. There you will find a connecting tube that the locals refer to as the rabbit hole. You will find a method of contacting Alice there. So may pupunta naman tayo bagong area. Don't call it that in front of her though. Word on the street is that she hates it. Please hurry while you're out. I will work on acquiring new contacts for the team. Alice is the best there is at what she does, and her services carry a price tag to match. So, ayan. Mission item. Take the human. Meet Alice. Game save. Okay. So, end na lang muna natin dito, guys. Teka. Punta muna tayo doon sa may U-Ban. Save natin doon sa labas ng U-Ban, doon sa building. Tapos end na natin. Okay, dito tayo sa U-Ban. Dito tayo sa tapat. Okay, save na natin. Sayang lang yung bakit 1 karma point lang para na may mabubuka sa 1 karma. Okay, ganda natin. I-save na. 7 minutes pa pero end na natin. Kaya Sean Velosa signing off, guys. Next episode na lang ulit.